All right, so are you ready to dive in with me today?
Always.
Okay, good, because we are tackling a big one.
Oh,
Does God exist?
wow. Yeah, that's a big one.
It really is, and it's a question that's been debated for centuries,
Hmm.
but we're going to get a fresh perspective on it today.
Okay. I like fresh
I
perspectives.
think you'll like this one.
All right, lay it on me.
Our source today
Hmm.
is a conversation between two AI models.
Whoa, hold on, AI.
Yep.
And they're talking about God.
That's right.
That's pretty meta.
It is. It's like we're eavesdropping on the future of philosophy.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So what's fascinating to me
Yeah.
is that these AI models
Uh-huh.
are engaging with an idea that is so fundamentally human.
What do you mean?
We're talking faith spirituality, the search for meaning.
Right.
Can AI really grasp those concepts?
I mean, I guess that's what we're going to find out.
Exactly. And each model takes a totally different approach.
Oh.
Model 1 lays it all out there, presenting both sides of the argument in a very structured way.
Okay.
Like it's trying to create the ultimate pro-con list.
Interesting.
For example, it highlights the idea that believing in God
Yeah.
helps explain the order and complexity of the universe.
Okay.
It uses the example of the human eye,
Yeah.
this intricate biological machine
Right.
that seems almost too perfect to have just happened.
That's a classic intelligent design argument.
Exactly.
Okay, so Model 1 is presenting, like, the evidence for God's existence.
Right, but then it pivots and says, hold on,
Okay.
science and math,
Yeah.
they don't need a creator to function.
Interesting.
And it points to the laws of physics, which operate consistently without any need for divine intervention.
Right.
So it's like Model 1 is playing devil's advocate.
It's really trying to be objective, it seems.
Yeah, it's presenting the facts,
Mhm.
letting you draw your own conclusions.
I see.
Okay, so what about Model 2?
All right, let's hear about Model 2.
How does it approach the question?
Well, Model 2 dives right into the deep end.
Oh,
It's less concerned with evidence
okay.
and more with grappling with different viewpoints
Interesting.
and how they shape our understanding of reality.
Okay.
So, for instance, it brings up the idea
Mm.
that the absence of a deity might leave a gaping hole
A gaping hole.
in our understanding of the universe.
Hmm.
It's like if there's no grand plan,
Yeah.
no ultimate purpose,
Hmm.
then does that make everything meaningless?
Whoa, that gets pretty existential.
Right?
It does. But Model 2 doesn't stop there, right?
No, it doesn't.
Didn't it also talk about the personal benefits of belief?
It did, yeah.
Okay, so what did it say?
So Model 2 points out that faith
Yeah.
can be a source of comfort
Mm.
and meaning in a chaotic world.
Okay.
It provides a framework
Uh-huh.
for understanding suffering,
Right.
for finding purpose in the face of uncertainty.
So it's like having a guiding light in the darkness.
Exactly.
It's amazing how these AI models are able to articulate these complex ideas.
I know, right?
You know, when I first started reading this conversation, I thought the AI would focus solely on the logical arguments.
For and against God's existence.
Exactly. But both models go beyond that.
That's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Absolutely.
You'd think AI programmed for logic and data processing
Right.
would shy away from such an abstract, subjective question.
Uh-huh.
But both models seem to recognize the inherent ambiguity,
I see.
the limitations of a purely rational approach.
To the question of God.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting how Model 1 bluntly states that science and math don't need a creator,
Oh, yeah?
while Model 2 counters with belief in God offers explanations for chaos.
Wow, that's such a stark contrast.
It is right.
Yeah, it's like they're having a mini debate,
Uh-huh.
highlighting this fundamental tension.
I
The
love-
empirical world of science
Right.
and the realm of faith and belief.
Wow. Okay, so we've got these two very different approaches. But what's even more interesting is that despite their contrasting approaches,
Yeah.
both models end up highlighting the crucial role of personal interpretation.
That is fascinating.
It's like they're saying we can lay out the arguments,
Uh-huh.
but ultimately the answer lies within each individual.
So instead of offering a definitive answer,
Right.
these AI models are actually mirroring the way humans
Yeah.
have wrestled with this question for centuries.
It's true. There's no easy solution.
Nope.
No scientific equation to prove or disprove the existence of God.
It seems that even AI
With all its processing power,
and algorithms,
lumps up against the same wall we do,
which is,
the mystery of faith.
okay, so we're hitting the limits of what AI can tell us.
About faith.
Yeah, and that's where things get really interesting.
It does make you wonder,
Yeah.
what this all means
Yeah.
for us humans.
All right, well, let's dig a little deeper
Or
into those ideas.
in the next section.
It's like we're hitting these limits,
Limits up.
of what AI can tell us about faith.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, how do you program an algorithm
Mm-hmm.
to understand the feeling of spiritual connection?
Right.
That leap of faith.
Yeah, you can't really quantify that.
Exactly.
It really makes you think about the nature of belief itself.
You know, it's funny.
What is it?
We often associate AI
Yeah.
with pure logic and rationality.
Right.
But when it comes to this God question,
Uh,
it seems like even AI recognizes that logic
yeah.
can only take you so far.
I see what you're saying.
It's really the human element that comes in.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, we humans are capable of holding these like seemingly contradictory ideas,
Oh, okay.
of embracing ambiguity
Right.
and uncertainty.
Hmm.
It's this very human capacity for faith,
Yeah.
for intuition, that allows us to grapple with questions that might be inherently unanswerable.
Unanswerable through pure logic.
Exactly.
So it's almost like AI is pointing us back to ourselves.
I think so.
Like saying, hey, you humans, you are uniquely equipped to deal with this kind of question.
Even if it means wrestling with doubt
Right.
and uncertainty.
That's a good point. It's not about having all the answers.
Yep.
It's about the journey,
That's right.
the exploration.
Precisely.
And think about all the great philosophers and theologians throughout history.
Oh, yeah.
They wrestled with these same questions.
For centuries.
And their struggles ultimately enriched our understanding of
Oof.
the human condition.
I'm also struck by how both these AI models
Yeah.
seem to acknowledge that the question of God's existence
Uh-huh.
isn't just this like theoretical debate.
Right. It has real-world implications for how we live our lives.
How we find meaning.
How we find purpose.
Model 2 in particular
Yeah.
brought up this idea
What idea?
that belief can provide comfort and structure in a world
Mm-hmm.
that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Okay.
So it can offer a sense of hope, a framework for ethical decision-making,
Okay.
a community of shared values.
But didn't Model 1 kind of counter that
It did.
by highlighting the potential dangers of blind faith?
Yeah, remember it said something like,
Oh, yeah.
belief without critical thinking can lead to dogma and intolerance?
Yes.
That's an important point to remember.
It is.
Model 1 acts as this counterbalance, reminding us that belief shouldn't be an excuse.
To abandon reason.
Yeah.
And critical thinking.
It's about finding that balance,
Faith and intellect.
recognizing that both have their limitations.
And their strengths.
It's like these AI models are presenting us with this spectrum of perspectives,
Okay.
and they're urging us to engage with the complexity of the issue.
Instead of
seeking easy answers,
Right,
or
really.
clinging to these rigid ideologies.
I think that's where the true value of this deep dive lies.
I agree.
We're not just learning about AI's take.
On the God question, we're being challenged to examine our own assumptions,
To consider different viewpoints
to grapple with the profound implications.
of this age-old debate.
Right.
You know, when we started this episode, I was expecting a pretty straightforward analysis of how AI tackles this complex question.
But it's turned into something much more introspective.
Yeah.
It's prompting us to reflect the nature of faith,
Yeah.
the limits of logic, and that human struggle
To find meaning.
in a world that often feels mysterious and unpredictable.
So true. It's almost as if the AI models are acting like mirrors,
Mirrors.
reflecting our own human preoccupations back at us.
I like that analogy.
They're forcing us to confront these big questions.
Right.
What is the nature of reality? What is our place in the cosmos?
Yeah.
Does our existence have a purpose?
Those are the big ones.
They really are.
And what's so fascinating is that while the AI models can't offer definitive answers,
Yeah.
they are prompting us to ask better questions,
Delve deeper.
to go beyond that binary.
Of belief versus disbelief.
Yes, to explore the nuances of faith,
The gray areas of doubt.
the interconnectedness of reason and intuition.
Okay, so we've talked about how AI approaches the God question and how it reflects our own human struggles.
With this issue.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, okay, so we've talked about how AI approaches the God question and how it reflects our own human struggles with this issue.
Right.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what this all means for the listener.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, we've explored these complex ideas, these different approaches, but what can someone actually take away from this?
Well, I think one of the most important takeaways is this.
Yeah.
Even AI, with its vast processing power,
Right.
struggles with the question of God. What does that tell us?
I don't know. What does it tell us?
It tells us that this isn't a question with a simple answer. It's not about, like, finding the right data set or the perfect logical proof.
I see.
This search for meaning, for understanding our place in the universe.
Yeah.
It's a human endeavor.
So we can't just outsource this question to AI.
Nope.
It's almost like AI is giving us permission to embrace the mystery.
The mystery.
To acknowledge that some questions might not have neat and tidy answers.
I like that it's very liberating.
It is, right?
Yeah, instead of getting bogged down, trying to definitively prove or disprove God, we can shift our focus to the journey.
Okay, the journey of
exploring different perspectives.
Okay.
Wrestling with doubt and uncertainty.
Yeah.
Finding what resonates on a personal level.
So it's not about winning a debate.
Nope.
It's about this lifelong exploration.
That's a good way to put it.
Of one of the biggest questions humanity has ever grappled with.
Exactly.
And remember what the AI models said?
Oh, yeah. Even with their limitations.
Right.
They offered some pretty interesting insights.
Yes. They did. What were some of your favorites?
Well, they reminded us about the comfort and danger in belief. The importance of balancing faith with critical thinking. And that ultimate subjectivity of the question itself.
Right. And that brings me to our final thought for you, our listener.
Ooh, I like a good final thought.
If even AI, with its ability to process vast amounts of information, can't provide a definitive answer, what does that tell us about the nature of the question itself? Is this a question that demands a yes or no? Or is it, as we've been discussing, something much more personal, something that each of us must grapple with on our own terms?
I think so.
Maybe the real value lies in the journey. In the continuous seeking, questioning, and evolving our understanding. This profound and enduring mystery.
Well said.
And regardless of your personal beliefs, engaging with these big questions can be incredibly enriching.
It really can.
It pushes us to think critically, to examine our assumptions.
And to connect with something larger than ourselves.
So there you have it.
A deep dive
into the question of God as seen through the eyes of AI.
We explored the arguments, the insights, the limitations.
And ultimately, we were led back to ourselves.
To that human quest for meaning and understanding.
Thanks for joining us on this thought-provoking journey.